My MVP for the summer split is Jensen. I think he's done extremely well this split. And I'm not going to talk too much about his stats because everyone knows his stats are just bonkers. But I want to talk about how I voted for him last split, but I think this split he's even more impressive. And my MVP is based on MVP to the team, and in conjunction with that, whichever person has been doing the best in the league overall. So it's a combination of the two. And Jensen has proved once again that he's the primary carry of Cloud9, and he can basically take over whole games or series dependent upon his lane solely. And he gets these individual advantages, whether it be crazy CS numbers or the solo kills too. And this allows for the whole C9 map to just get blown open, and it allows for contracts to exert more pressure around the map and counter jungle as well, and it takes off pressure from Impact and Sneaky and Smoothie in the bot lane. So Jensen is able to do all of this control in the game on even like the simplest of champions like Orianna, which, by the way, all right, Orianna is supposed to be in every mid laner's wheelhouse, right? But it's supposed to be there because it's a neutral champion. There aren't really any counters to Orianna. And not only that, but you pick her when everything else has been banned, basically, that's meta. So he's shown that he prefers this pick and will take this pick over a lot of other meta champions. And I think it's something like in Spring Split, he had an 80% win rate with this champion out of like 10 games or something. So he's just absolutely nuts with this champion. And many people, I think, have this criticism of Jensen saying that, well, he isn't winning C9 enough games with his gold share. But I think that's a pretty disingenuous opinion, because C9 has had a host of problems, more than Jensen just getting a whole bunch of gold and not being able to actually win the game from that. Because Ray and Impact have had a huge slump in the mid-season, and the patch from tanks to carries, then back to tanks, has just done fucking disastrous things to both of these two. And not only that, but whenever they're swapping these players out in and out, then the opposite team knows exactly what style Cloud9 is going to play for that particular game. So it's rougher on them for the draft, and it's rougher on them for their whole map play. And then not only that, but you have, split scrim time and everything between the two. So there are just more problems with that whole situation. And then on top of that, Contracts had trouble moving into tanks, and because he was known for his Lee Sin or his Kha'Zix. So there's just all of these problems with Cloud9 that have happened, particularly because of the meta. And Jensen has been able to hold his own and to progress with the meta every single time. And not only that, but I know everyone is talking about another problem and another narrative of Jensen versus Brauk, right? As they're both mid laners, and Brauk has often been voted MVP of the split multiple times in the past. And he's a good player. I don't fault people for bringing up his name every time MVP happens. But I think the problem with this split is that TSM doesn't always play to Bjergsen anymore. And that used to be this old narrative that I think a lot of people are stuck in, is that it was Bjergsen and the four wards with Santorin in the lineup, right? So TSM, they have more win conditions now. They have Haunter in the top lane who can carry games, and they especially have Doublelift in the bot lane that can carry games as well too. So it's not just about the Bjergsen show, and I think Jensen contributes more to his team than Bjergsen does. And a lot of people also make the argument of that Bjergsen does almost the same amount of work with less gold, but I would argue that as well. I think Jensen often gets his advantages by himself far more than Bjergsen does with his solo kills and his CS per 10. And as MarkZ proved in his video, which I'll link down below, is that Jensen has so many kills. He's proven to be anything but a KDA player. He's significantly higher than the second most person with kills. So, and to that argument of him being a KDA player and him having a ton of kills, I think he does use his gold efficiently, and that just kind of proves it, that he has just a massive amount of kills next to the second most person. And the biggest criticism, though, that I have for Jensen is his words per minute, and that he is really low for a mid laner, and his wards cleared per minute, which is very low as well. And it's not even off balance by contracts or Smoothie clearing out or putting these wards out either, because they aren't, in the top echelon for either of these statistics. So that is a problem, but he still isn't dying. And although it hinders his team a little bit in the mid and late game, I think, I don't believe it's an extreme issue for Cloud9. So with that caveat, I think Jensen has overall been the best player this year, and I think meta hasn't really affected him as much as a lot of other players, and I think he deserves MVP of NA LCS Summer Split 2017.